Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Somerville Licensing Commission for November 16, 2020. Start time is 6 p.m. I'm Joe Lynch, Chair and Commissioner for the Licensing Commission. Joining us tonight are Commissioner Christine Lindgren and Commissioner Chris Allen. We also have a number of city staff on the call as well as attendees. Once again, I want to thank City Clerk John Long and the clerk to the Somerville Licensing Commission, Lori Batzek. Thank you very much for helping us with tonight's broadcast. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, as well as Mayor Curtatoni's declaration of emergency dated March 15, 2020. This meeting of the Somerville Licensing Commission will be conducted via remote participation. We will post an audio recording, audio-video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of these proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting on the City of Somerville website. Thank you, Mr. Long. On to the agenda. First item, acceptance of the minutes of the October 19th, 2020 regular meeting. Commissioner Lindgren, Commissioner Allen, any comments about the minutes that were submitted?
No.
I don't.
Okay, I move for acceptance of the minutes of October 19th.
Second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Second, 1A, notice from Governor Baker pertaining to issued COVID-19 order number 53 dated November 2nd, 2020, and mandatory closing period for sale and service of alcohol effective November 6th, 2020. Commissioners, any questions? Thank you very much. So noted, placed on file. Item number 2 is Highland Cuisine Inc., DBA Highland Cuisine 2 Highland Ave. Mr. Stanley Falaise has been notified to appear before the commission to discuss the status of his all forms alcohol license. Commissioner Allen, is Mr. Falaise present?
Mr. Falaise is present. You are unmuted. Please state your name and.
Yes, hello. My name is Stanley Falaise. I am here and present.
Mr. Falaise, thank you very much. I understand that you appeared last month and that the meeting was going so long. Our apologies for that. But we requested you to come in and give us an update on your all forms alcohol license. If you could give us the status of that.
Yes, everything currently is all set. Just really waiting for the license issuance and the license commission meeting, and that's pretty much it. I'm on the citizen serve right now. Everything's approved, and those are the only items that are currently pending.
Thank you very much. Commission Clerk Lori Batzek, are we all set in terms of the sign-offs?
We were not in, we did not have all of the sign-offs. Let me look in Citizen Serve, and it indicates from the health department that he will only be serving beer. So I believe that you would need to approve that because he was issued approval for an all forms alcohol license.
Yes, at first it was beer, but then you told me that I would have to reapply to actually do the cocktails and other liquors. So I just had to send over the menu, and I sent the menu over, where all the items would be placed in the kitchen as well to serve all forms alcohol.
Okay.
I think.
Hold on.
Okay. Mr. Falaise, a couple of questions. This is Commissioner Lynch. Do you have a full functioning kitchen?
Yes.
Okay. And you have a CV license?
Correct.
Restaurant.
Yes.
So you have a CV license, you have a functioning kitchen. How about bathrooms? Do you have functioning bathrooms?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ms. Batzek, do you have an update?
I'm looking now. Hold on.
Okay.
The health department approved with conditions.
Thank you. And the conditions are?
And Beer only is served.
Yeah, that was, I mean, as of 9/23/20, I remember you told me to just update and upload the documents of the cocktail menu and the equipment description, and I've done that. So I believe that was
Right.
all that it was.
Right, so you did provide the menu for the cocktails, but according to the Board of Health, they're only approving it for beer only.
Do we know
So-
why they're doing that, Ms. Batson?
I don't know why they're doing that. I assumed that it was because whatever floor plan was included, that he may not have what he needed. According to Maureen, she suggested provide a floor plan showing the location of the bar, include all equipment. Examples include, but not limited to, blenders, soda gun, ice machine, ice storage bins, refrigeration, dish machine and sinks, including a hand sink. Include the location for glassware storage. In addition, identify on the plan the location for backup liquor storage. Please be aware the basement is not approved for storage of any type.
Mr. Felice, are you in receipt of that email from the health department?
Yes, I received that, but there wouldn't be no bar. So the only equipment that we have is the blender, ice machines, cocktail shaker, and glassware. And I provided everything with a format of where the kitchen, all the setups, and where everything would be as well.
Okay. All right. I think the commission has enough information, all right? Because this is just a status update from you. But it appears as though the health department wants to confirm some things with you. Lori, can you facilitate that conversation between the health, Maureen at health, and Mr. Felice?
Certainly, I'll call Maureen and ask her what the status is and what needs to be done.
Okay, Mr. Felice, we'll try to straighten this out, help you straighten this out, okay?
Okay. It has been over a year that I've been applying for this because it's been since June 2019. I've been trying to figure this out and get it right. Right now, we're not actually even open for dine-in, but I would still like to get this done as soon as possible.
I understand it. I understand it. And you do have conditional approval from this commission for that license. But it appears as though because there was a flip back and forth between beer only and then all forms, that there's something holding it up. So I'm going to ask Lori to work with the health department with you on that, okay?
Okay, moving forward, should I just contact Lori and we'll get together and figure it out? Okay.
Yes. If you could contact Lori, she'll assist and we'll run it for you through health and see what the problem is. Okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Item number 3. This is a common victualler and entertainment by devices application for Cinev LLC DBA Zaruma Gold Coffee, 27 Woodbine Street, Vladislav Cinev. This is the notice for the public hearing. Is Mr. Cinev present?
I see no applicant by that name. If you are representing the applicant on this item, please raise your hand using the hand raise icon on the GoToWebinar panel. I don't see any, no one seems to be stepping forward.
Okay, let's put it at the end of the agenda, please. Item number 4, amending an all forms alcohol license, change of hours. The application is this is item number 4, Eat It Jumbo's DBA Sassafras, 688 Broadway, requesting the approval of a change of hours from 0 hours for food and alcohol service to Sunday through Saturday, 10 to 11 for food and alcohol service. Is the applicant present? Anyone from Eat It Jumbo's DBA Sassafras?
The applicant's name for that would be
Ms.
Grover
Batson?
Taylor.
Mr.
Thank you.
Taylor.
That's it. Mr. Taylor, you are unmuted.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can, Mr. Taylor. It's Mr. Lynch. How are you?
All right, good evening.
Okay, so Grover, can you just update us on what we're doing here? You want us to change your hours back? You're getting ready to reopen?
Yeah, I would love to have been reopened 4 weeks ago. We're ready.
Okay, so for the other two commissioners, I think Commissioner Allen remembers this, is that Mr. Taylor was kind of betwixt and between about what to do with his restaurant. He was in Ball Square. The Ball Square Bridge was closed. Business was way off, and he made some attempts at changing menu and doing some other things and wanted to close temporarily, but did not want to have to give up the license. So we allowed Mr. Taylor to bring his hours to 0, which effectively closes the establishment. He's back in front of us to reestablish his hours of operation. Any questions from Commissioner Allen?
Nope.
Okay, Commissioner Lindgren.
No questions.
Okay, Grover, you're back in business.
Thank you.
Mr.
My understanding is no more.
Grover, you're breaking
Laurie?
up. You're breaking up.
Mr. Chairman, this is the Secretary Laurie. Can I interject here?
Sure.
In order for him to be open, he's got to submit a COVID plan to Sue Thomas, and it's got to be signed off by ISD. I don't see anything. I looked in the application, and I don't see it. I don't know where you submitted it, but if you did, I would kindly contact either Sue or ISD to see where that is in the works, because you need approval to open COVID.
Okay, let's take it step by step. Mr. Grover, Grover, this is to reestablish your hours of operation pre-COVID, okay?
What was that, Joe? You're breaking up.
This application is to reestablish your pre-COVID hours of operation. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the
Yeah.
next step is we are in the midst of COVID restrictions and protocols. You have to submit.
Maureen's already sent someone out to inspect everything that was greenlighted by the health department.
No, Mr. Taylor, let me try to explain and ask you a couple of questions. Have you submitted a COVID health and safety plan to the city of Somerville to reopen during COVID?
Yes.
And who was that submitted to?
The Citizen Serve, Don Pickett, and waiting to hear from someone named Nick that Sue has to sign to.
Right, Lori, do we see an application through Citizen Serve for COVID?
Not in the licensing commission side, sir. Perhaps he submitted in the health department side?
Okay, I wouldn't know that, so let's try to assist Mr. Taylor. Could you do me a favor and get a hold of Economic Development, Sue Taylor, and Sue Thomas, and see whether or not any paperwork has been submitted directly to them for them to approve to reopen under COVID protocols. Okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Jen, can I have the COVID protocol sent to me again?
Commissioners, what we are approving is just the establishment of his pre-COVID hours, okay? We're not giving approval here on COVID stuff, all right?
Okay.
So if there are no other questions, I'll make a motion to, hold on, Grover, hold on. Make a motion to approve item number 4, which is Eat at Jumbo's, lifting the 0 hours and reestablishing the pre-COVID hours.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Grover, you're back in business for your pre-COVID stuff. Now you have to submit paperwork to the city of Somerville to open under COVID protocols. If you could just make sure that that was done, and if you have any documentation that you can supply to Lori, we'll get you on the way, okay?
No problem. I will email Lori, Nick, and Sue again probably this evening.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Commission.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 5. This is an amending an existing private license, all forms alcohol license. This is a pledge of the license. Item number 5 is the Demeter Hospitality LLC, DBA Daddy Jones, 525 Medford Street, requesting the approval of a pledge of the license to Enterprise Bank and Trust Company, 76 Bedford Street, Lexington, Mass. Commissioner Allen is the applicant present. Last name would be Murphy.
Murphy. No one in the attendees list present under that name. If you're here
Last name?
representing,
Last name could be Surianis, TS.
Yep.
don't see that either.
Okay.
And no hands have been raised. Again, if you're representing this item, please raise your hand now.
Okay, let's put it to the end of the agenda. Item number 6.
Okay.
Item number 6 is transferring a private all forms alcohol common victualler entertainment by devices and Sunday hours license. This is for RF O'Sullivan's Saloon LLC, DBA RF O'Sullivan's, 282 Beacon Street, requesting the approval of a transfer of an all forms 7-day alcohol license from Beacon Street Cafe Inc., DBA RF O'Sullivan's, 282 Beacon Street, and a common victualler and entertainment by devices and a Sunday hours license to RF O'Sullivan's Saloon LLC, DBA RF O'Sullivan's at 282 Beacon Street. Is the applicant present?
2 people present for this, Mr. Gazda and Mr. Frisoli. You are both unmuted.
Welcome, gentlemen. If you could state your names for the record and what your involvement is with this application.
You are unmuted on our side. You may still need to unmute on yours.
Try that again. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
My apologies. Again, Michael Ford, representing RF O'Sullivan's Saloon LLC. I am the attorney for the proposed licensee.
And this is
Attorney Ford, I'm sorry, are you representing the buyer or the seller?
I am representing the buyer. And actually, the representative for the buyer will be Fred Starikoff, who's also on the line and prepared to answer any management questions from the board.
Attorney Starikoff, if you want to stay on the line, please state your name for the record, please.
He is now unmuted as well.
And he's actually my client, so he's the person representative of the company.
I'm not an attorney yet. I just play one on TV.
Okay.
But
All right.
this is
Guys,
Fred-
hold on one second. You got to be careful because we can't talk over each other. The commissioners can't hear each other. So Attorney Ford, I'm going to start with you. You're representing the buyer.
Yes, representing the buyer, and as I said, right with me, Fred Starikoff, who's partial owner and proposed manager of the premises. This is the RF O'Sullivan's Pub at 282 Beacon Street in Somerville. This is an application for a transfer of the all alcoholic beverages license. This is the same location, same place, same hours with no changes. This is pursuant to an offer to purchase that is on file with the board here. The acquisition is $1.2 million, $1 million being allocated to the real estate as part of a company to be owned by Fred Starikoff, $200,000 for the business assets. This is going to, with respect to the license, be financed with cash funds, no outside financing for the license in the business. As far as it's going to, we do have submitted copies of the current menu. There are no proposed changes, no changes in hours, simply a change in ownership. Let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Starikoff and his company and the fellow owners. They have a substantial experience in the hospitality business. Tamworth Saloon, the TAM, located at 222 Tremont Street in Boston. Sullivan Saloon at Canal Street, and Beacon Hill Pub LLC, as well as a variety of other businesses and hospitality businesses. Mr. Starikoff has participated in the management and overseeing of these entities with certain general managers for each location. Seating capacity, same, 65 seats, 3,000 square feet, and the ownership is going to be divided 25% each, one to Fred Starikoff, one to Dana Rosenblatt, one to Julia Sokol, and one to Stephen Whalen. And this is a group that has acquired various hospitality venues and is having quite success. The lease will be 10 years, $10,000 a month to the nominee entity, and I've already gone over the purchase price. We've reached out to the City Council, and with that, if you have any questions for Mr. Starikoff, he is on the line and can answer those management questions.
Thank you, Attorney Ford. Very well, nicely prepared. Mr. Starikoff, how long have you been in the business in a regulatory way? Any of the regulation, highly regulated industries such as alcohol licenses? How long?
A little over 2.5 years, and my partners have significantly more experience than that, but we also run a real estate company that manages the properties that the bars are tenants of.
Got it. Okay, and are you going to be the manager of record for O'Sullivan's?
Yes.
Okay, and you do all your own hiring and whatever. You know,
Yeah.
You know the routine. What I'm going to ask you, right? About.
Yeah, absolutely. We manage everything. We're vertically integrated. We manage everything from the top down, and I'm involved as an operator. 20.
Got it. Okay. So you do understand how we do it here. We give you provisional approval. Your application goes into the ABCC. Everyone wants to make sure we have good neighbors. Attorney Ford, you say the City Council. Did you reach out to the City Councilor in whose district it is?
Yeah, and my associate represents to me that reached out to Councilor Scott to inform of what's going on. There was no follow-up on that, and it was our understanding that no community meeting would be needed, given that it was same location, same, just ownership transfer.
That's correct. Your community meeting is tonight. This is a public hearing of the Licensing Commission. So, okay. Commissioner Allen and Commissioner Lindgren, why don't we start with Commissioner Lindgren? This is one of your first purchase, lock, stock, and barrel for a private license, I believe.
I guess the only questions I have was to make sure that all the documents were submitted, because I see a letter from Lori in September. I believe, yeah, that said a COVID seating plan should be submitted. I've got the right place, RF.
Yeah, it's RF O'Sullivan's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure all the proper documentation had been done.
No, it's a good point, but the agenda item is for the transfer of the private all forms.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we can inform them, you know, after we look at this, of what they have to do to open during COVID.
Okay.
Yep, but it should not be affecting their transfer of the license.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Allen?
Just a quick question for Mr. Starikoff. You've mentioned that you've either had an ownership stake in or management stake in a couple of other establishments. Have any of those had any rulings against them from the ABCC during the time you've been involved?
A couple of hearings just for tickets, write-ups, but they've been handled since.
Okay. Could you elaborate on what those were?
The last one, Michael, if you want to just correct me if I say something incorrectly, but
I don't want to talk over them, but I might have a better idea since I've handled it with Mr. Starikoff, the the various items. I think there was only one ABCC hearing, and then I think there were two licensing board hearings, which resulted in it was either a filed or no violation. I just don't have them in front of me. I can supplement if you need that. With respect to the ABCC, there was a hearing held. A decision wasn't issued, but I think it was dealing with the interpretations of different types of food products that would match up with the three particular COVID governor orders. And that exact same hearing was heard by the licensing board, and mid-hearing, they just stopped it and said, we don't need to proceed anymore, if that's any indication of how the ABCC decision may very well go. So, represent to you that, they're really a top-notch outfit, and, want no violations at this location.
Understood. No further questions.
Thank you very much. So you operate a couple of establishments in Boston, and I think the reputation is that Commissioner Joyce in Boston at the Boston Licensing Board is a softie when it comes to compared to me. So what we look for is good neighbor, unblemished record. We like you to blend into the neighborhood and not have any complaints. And as I've said to many licensees before, this is your license. You own it. It's worth money. Protect it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no further questions from the commissioners, I'd like to open this up for public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to make comment on application for R.F. O'Sullivan Saloon?
I just want to note, I don't know whether you can hear me, it's Attorney Frank Frizzoli. I'm here with Richard Sullivan representing him. We're in favor.
Welcome, Mr. Frizzoli. Go ahead.
We're just speaking in favor of the proposed transfer.
Thank you very much.
I also want to note there was both a pre-COVID and a COVID seating plan submitted to the License Commission. They have both of them.
Okay.
Okay, we'll track it down through Lori Batzek, the city clerk for the commission. All right. Ms. Batzek, have you got anything on this application that you need to bring to our attention tonight?
There was some documentation that I was looking for, but I will submit it to the ABCC and get direction from them if there's something missing. Everything else seems to be okay.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public wish to comment on the application? Commissioner Allen, do you see anybody?
No.
Okay, seeing none, make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Welcome to Somerville. We wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 7 is transferring private wine and malt package store license with change of location. This is for Jai Gin Anjali, LLC, DBA Get and Go, 152 Highland Ave, requesting the approval of a transfer of a wine and malt package store license from La Internacional Food Court at 318 Somerville Ave to Jai Jintanjali, LLC, DBA Get and Go at 152 Highland Ave. At the request of Attorney Upton, we are placing this on the January 2021 agenda. Thank you very much. Item number 8. Item number 8 is a requesting the approval for all 2021 license renewals. Ms. Batzek, any information, or can we just go ahead and renew?
I have no additional information.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any information about what we're doing in November? We do it every November.
Understood.
Okay. All right. I want to thank I want to thank City Clerk John Long and the Secretary to the Commission. It's been a tough year. We did it. The Somerville Licensing Commission is happy. I will make a motion to approve all 2021 license renewals.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much to the both clerks. We have a late item. Item number 9 is a new alteration of premises for temporary outdoor patio seating. This is for license application 169 for Modelo Butcher Market, Inc. The address is 501 Medford Street. It's a new application for temporary. It is indicating that the application is not complete. It is a new one on the public way. Is there anybody from Economic Development Patio Patrol who would like to make a comment?
Good evening, Commissioner. This is Sue Thomas. Yes, they approached Economic Development to apply for an outdoor patio seating application. We're working with them to get a complete layout from them and have a better understanding in terms of other infrastructure that they're going to be using. So for tonight, we're asking for conditional approval. We think that we can straighten that out by the end of this week.
Okay, Commissioner Allen.
Makes sense. No questions.
Commissioner Lindgren.
No questions.
No questions. Okay, make a motion to approve item number 9, pending sign off by all appropriate city departments.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Ms. Thomas. Next item, item number 10, is it communications? This is from the Economic Development Division. They are requesting the Licensing Commission to conditionally approve outdoor seating licenses wishing to operate past January 11th, 2021 on a case-by-case basis, contingent upon DPW, fire, engineering, and OSPCD review. For all other licenses, the Economic Development Division is requesting to resume outdoor seating starting March 1st, 2021. Is there a representative from Economic Development Division present and wishes to speak?
Yes, good evening. This is Sue Thomas, Senior Planner with Economic Development of the Mayor's Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development. As you are aware, at the last Licensing Commission meeting, our office requested that we extend outdoor seating to December 31st, 2021. And due to public safety concerns, the Commission had approved it to January 11th and to resume it for April 1st. Since then, we have received feedback through surveys as well as emails from business owners, really requesting a continuation in terms of the parklets for outdoor seating for the full year, as well as an early start for March 1st instead of April 1st. And so city departments, including fire, DPW, ISD, city clerk, and engineering, we've all been, and mobility and public space and urban forestry, we've all been working together for the last couple of weeks to find a solution to really make sure that our restaurants have every opportunity to stay open during these times, that also addresses the safety measures, that doesn't conflict with DPW operations or emergency response. And so with that, we are requesting for those that wish to operate past January 11th, that we review them on a case-by-case basis, contingent upon staff approval with all of the departments that we believe is necessary based on their application. And we've created a winter health and safety plan or a winter ready certification plan, so that folks can review those guidelines and what the city considers is necessary during the winter. And they will have to apply for that, submit the form, and have staff review in hand before they are able to operate past January 11th. And for all the businesses that are not wishing to operate over the winter, we're requesting a start date of March 1st, 2021 instead of April 1st. We believe that the winter health and safety plan and guidelines will address the concerns such as winter removal plan, heating device storage locations, or any additional necessary permits that's needed if folks are really thinking about adding more investment into their outdoor infrastructure. While economic development certainly continues to try and secure funding for to help businesses operate outside, we also know many operators who are willing to make that investment, upwards of $35,000, if they know that that option is available to them all year round. That's not something that they could invest for a short-term return, especially with the uncertainty of what the weather might bring them between the months of January to March. And with that, in terms of the need and of the city, we did conduct a survey. We received about 21 responses. Of that, about 15 of them expressed interest in doing and operating past January. And we believe that these operators, if given the chance, they would come up with a good plan to be able to, steer clear of our DPW operations and emergency responses if they're able to. Now, with that said, we also do want to iterate that complying with these guidelines are really important, especially during the winter operations. So if folks do end up leaving furniture, or if they don't adhere to the rules, we will ask Licensing Commission to either fine the licensee or request a revocation of their license for the full year as part of the violation process. In addition to that, we do request that applications be submitted in the next month so that we have adequate time to review if folks are looking to begin operations in January 11th, if the commission approves this tonight. And with that, I believe I'm the only one present today with the exception of fire department, but I hope I can answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. So let's start off. It won't just be your department that will sign off on these case by case. Is that correct? You'll need sign off by DPW, fire, and engineering.
That's correct. We'll work with City Clerk's office to understand what's needed, but in the circulation, we will have DPW, fire, engineering, ISD, as well as OSPCD. Most of these folks are already in the circulation due to the outdoor seating licenses. The only one that we're really adding is DPW, and we will decide with City Clerk whether we need to just review it, and we'll have sort of meetings with DPW to make sure that's covered. But the intent is to have all of us approve them as necessary.
Thank you. Do we have any representative from DPW with us tonight?
They're not present, but I do have them on call, so I can bring them on board if need be.
All right. Do we have anybody from fire present?
Commissioner McLaughlin is here.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Lieutenant McLaughlin. Lieutenant McLaughlin is an advisor to the Somerville Licensing Commission. Lieutenant McLaughlin, have you reviewed the new request?
I have. My only concern, and I hopefully speak for the chief of the department after last month's meeting, is that if anybody is applying to stay open past January 11th, and we do have any significant snow that's not an emergency, that creates a hazard, if you will, for getting our apparatus by or blocking the street, that we do have the alternative to shut that licensee down, for lack of better words, for lack of better care of that property, hampering our response. I don't speak for ISD in this sense, but if some of these structures have protective coverings, I'm not sure what the load bearing is on these, if any snow accumulation is, so it might be a potential collapse hazard. I just want to bring that up because I was speaking with ISD. So I think on a case-by-case basis, I can make the inspections, I can keep safety protocols there, but I can't really speak in the event of a significant snowstorm or just short of an emergency. But again, if we do have a problem with apparatus getting by or road safety, that we do have the alternative to shut them down and take that structure down.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant McLaughlin. Do we have a representative from engineering with us tonight? Ms. Thomas, do you know if they're here or are they on call to ask any questions? I just want to make sure we have our ducks lined up here.
Sure. Engineering will not be on the call, nor will DPW. If I am unable to answer any of your questions, then I will certainly.
Okay, do we have anybody from ISD on the call?
No, we do not.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm not being flip here, Sue, but it looks like the restaurants and economic development didn't like our ruling last month, which was shut down on January 11th, reopen on April 1st. You did a survey. You're finding out from some of the restaurants. How many restaurants without current outdoor seating did you survey?
Without?
With outdoor seating.
We sent this out to all of our applicants who have current outdoor seating licenses.
Okay, and how many of those were there?
We have about 85.
85. So out of the 85 licensees that were permitted to stay open until January 11th, you got a response from 20?
21.
21. And of those 21, 10 are indicating that they would like to try this during the winter months.
About 15.
15. So for 15 restaurants, we're going to change the rules. Is that basically what we're doing here?
That is correct. Of the ones that responded, they took the time to respond to the surveys. Most of survey responses are difficult on a traditional matter anyways, but in terms of discussions, folks, in order for them to even explore it, it takes their time, it takes effort, it takes money for them to do that. And if the ruling stays as is, then they're not going to put in that effort, and they'll have to deal with what comes for the winter. However, if they're given that option, they want that decision to be theirs. They want to be able to say, work with partners, work with other vendors to make it happen.
I understand what you're saying, but that's where I have a little bit of an issue. That we want their decision to be theirs. The decision to occupy public space is not theirs. The decision is the licensing commission working with the city side. So as we discussed earlier today, I need to look at the need, and we have the need of, I'm just going based on your survey. 15 restaurants said they have the need to stay outside, and they have the financial wherewithal to stay outside, and that they're willing to go through an additional application period to abide by winter COVID rules and regs, that your department, based on information that and discussions that you've had with DPW, fire, engineering, that you can make this work. Have I got this kind of formatted in my Lynch brain? That what we ruled on last month is not sufficient for 15 restaurants. They would like the opportunity to stay outside, put a lot of money in. They need some predictability, right, on whether or not they're going to be able to stay outside no matter what. But what's missing from this one is the caveat that we had in last month's, is that the fire department, ISD, and DPW and the licensing commission could order the removal of these things with cause. And I'm going to ask Mr. Long, if you could find what we approved last month, that language was in there. And now what I'm seeing is that ISD is missing from this, and so is the licensing commission. And I'm specifically referring to on a case-by-case basis, contingent upon DPW, fire, engineering, and OSPCD review. So it doesn't look like ISD or the city licensing commission has any say about this. If I got that right, or am I making a mountain out of a molehill?
Commissioner Lynch, I had sent out an email to the commission as well as the city clerk's office that I had I forgot to include ISD in this request. These licenses, the approval will come from the licensing commission like we have done outdoor seating from the beginning. The request, while it may have only been 15, we do truly believe that this is an unprecedented time and folks are trying to utilize as much space and time as possible to generate the revenue that they need to be sustainable and resilient during this time. As similarly to the way that we had allowed them to use our public right of way in June, we are also giving them the same opportunity to do so January for the months of the winter, if that is possible. And that's the request that we have here today, not just based on those 15 responses that we received. It's more of a blanket request so that other folks can explore this if they wish to do so.
And there's a second part of the request. For everyone else, you want us to open it up on March 1st rather than April 1st.
That's correct.
Okay, so there are two things that we're trying to address, commissioners, and I just wanted to kind of format it in my own head what the request is about. So I'm going to turn it over to you, ask any questions that you want of Ms. Thomas or Lieutenant McLaughlin. So why don't we start with Commissioner Lindgren?
Yes, Ms. Thomas, just a couple of questions. Was that of the 15, are some in clusters, for example, in Davis Square?
Yes, that's a great question. It's mostly in Davis Square and Union Square.
Okay. And did you discuss with them at all other possibilities, such as, which we mentioned in the last meeting, that maybe those parklet spaces could be used for pickup pickup of food versus, if they had to take the structures down and were unable to use them?
We would allow for, we would revert back into either visitor parking or pickup drop-off areas like we did previously when outdoor seating wasn't allowed at the time. They are aware of that. They don't believe that they feel like that's not enough in terms of a revenue generator, just based off of takeout and delivery. So we had our last snowstorm, and surprisingly, there were customers who were willing to sit out and have consume the products. In terms of their usage of the parklets, in the winter health and safety plan, we do request a full snow and ice resiliency sort of plan. So in terms of, what's their plan in terms of protection, where do they plan to remove the snow, in case of emergencies, what is their plan? And these are all, this is a written plan that we would all review to make sure that it is compliant for both emergency responses as well as our DPW operations.
And they would have to do that within 4 hours. I think we talked about that 4-hour notice time.
Yes, we have mentioned most, oh, my apologies.
Yeah, just one other question. How are they going to deal with the heaters? What is their plan there? Because I think that was one of the big things that we were concerned about, because they can't be stored inside the restaurants.
So most of them, if they are approved right now, and this is all for existing licensees, they have been working with the fire department to come up with ways. So most of the survey responses was we've worked with fire to come up with a solution in terms of storing heaters. Majority of them said they have about 3 to 5 heaters. The city is also, our team is also looking into aggregated areas so that they're able to put heating devices in or propane tanks if need be. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but as of right now, independently, they are responsible for storing their tanks as well as the device itself. And that's fire approval. So they wouldn't be able to have any of these devices if fire didn't sign off on it.
Yeah, so it sounds like we don't have a firm plan on how they'd handle those.
Well, the assumption is that they wouldn't be adding on to what they have already approved. And if they do add on, we would need to continue to do fire approval on it. They would have to go back out for review and inspection.
Okay. No other questions at this moment.
Thank you. Commissioner Allen.
Yes, thank you for sending out the draft of the winter maintenance procedures. I had a chance to read through that and I had a couple of questions. The first being that you talk about in a snow emergency, licensee must remove all permitted things. And then you have it actually, unless otherwise permitted through the winter certification process. So is there it sounds like you're considering a possibility where you are going to have applicants who are applying for stuff on the public way go through this, and as part of it, they would receive authorization to they would receive authorization to keep materials out even in case of a snow emergency?
Yeah, we're leaving this contingent upon a proposal. So if someone is making the investment to create, basically an extension of premises onto the public right of way, and they do it in a way that they pull building permits, and we can coordinate with DPW to make sure that they have enough space to go around it, as well as enough width for emergency fire apparatus and others. That could be a scenario where we allow them to stay, depending on the location.
Okay. You mentioned union, and I think this is something that we had touched on in the previous one. Is there any, how is this going to interact with the ones which are currently in parking lots, which potentially do not, need to be plowed in the same way that a main thoroughfare does?
Could you clarify that question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just trying to scope out what this does and what DPW's involvement in this is. Is part of this going to be saying to DPW, do these areas need to be plowed? Like, are areas that are currently part of DPW's mandate to plow potentially being removed as part of this application process?
No, that's a great question. So we went through with DPW and fire and others, saying, all across city, what are sort of our high priority or any risk areas? And most of them were really around Elm Street in Davis Square. And so this case by case basis allows us to review each one of them. We don't anticipate sort of businesses in a contiguous form to request permanent parklets. But even if that was the case, we have the ability to review that with DPW and say, what is possible? Can we only do one side of the street, or can we do all sides, contingent on traffic barriers or water barrels or things like that? That is in plain sight, clear for DPW in terms of what they need to do, as well as for fire. So unfortunately, I don't have a clear answer because I don't know what the proposals look like, but we didn't have a main concern over, let's say, the Union Square Plaza, for instance, in terms of remote.
Thank you. And I'll follow up on this once more because it's pretty important, and I think Commissioner Lindgren was touching on this. When applicants have had patio heaters and they've gotten approval and permits for those patio heaters, and we have a snow emergency and those patio heaters need to be removed.
Mhm.
It's my understanding that when fire reviews the suitability of these, they're reviewing them suitability where they are located, and if they are moved, potentially as part of a snow emergency, they could be moved to a place which is not in compliance with our fire procedures. And for a lot of these, I just want to clarify. When we talk about these folks having to potentially on 4 hours notice clear out everything, are we having actual realistic goals for when that everything includes propane or heating supplies that cannot by fire code be kept inside their restaurant?
Yes, I will let Lieutenant McLaughlin sort of answer the question in terms of what he approves off-site. So where that goes, I believe that's a part of the review process. In terms of our liability and maintenance section of the plan, we do request that I think we put it under the equipment, which is everything within the licensed premises. They will have to move that elsewhere. They don't have enough space even within their most of the premises in Somerville anyway. So whether that's the protective barriers to the heating devices to the tables and chairs. And that where they move it to will be a part of the packet that we request of the health and safety plan over the winter.
Okay. Those were my two main questions, and I think those explored the two biggest concerns that I had. I think that's all I have for now.
I just have another question, Sue. So was the survey sent by email to people, or was there phone outreach?
No, this was through survey. We've also had separate email correspondence with restaurant operators. We also do a weekly business town hall session that we discuss with either business owners or their liaisons or their Main Street operators who convey it on behalf of them. So while that number again for the survey might be 15, we've certainly had communications of more.
Yeah, because what I'm thinking is maybe that number would go up if other restaurateurs maybe heard about it, didn't know, didn't take the survey. I'm just wondering if we need a better idea of what that number actually is going to be.
I think we would have a better understanding of who would apply by December because we have this deadline. Because we know staff review wise, it'll take us longer than what we did back in June with, December, making sure ADA compliancy in terms of safety, et cetera, and also vacation time that folks have to take by the end of the year. So we are asking for early submissions and we can give the commission an update for the January meeting as to how many has applied. And the types of proposals that are coming in, if any.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you, commissioners. Sue, what is the deadline? You keep saying deadline, but I haven't heard a date. What's the deadline?
Right now, it's in draft form. It's December 11th, which would give them an exact month to be able to submit. But we will include that deadline in when we do post this online.
The reason I'm asking is this commission does not meet in December. So would like to entertain the request tonight and try to give you an answer because now I know December 11th is the deadline. So how much work is this going to be involved on the city clerk side during the month of December? So you're getting, I'm going to give you a scenario. You're getting applications in. Send out something tomorrow that says, congratulations for the U15 that have an interest. The licensing commission has said yes to our request. You must have all this stuff into us by December 11th. All right. So somebody comes in on December 10th, files all this paperwork. Have we got the resources in order to issue the actual amendment to the license for them?
This would go through the typical city clerk process that we have under the licensing commission, which is the license commission license amendment. They would submit their winter health and safety plan. It would be routed to the existing people that are already in the system, however, including DPW this time, in terms of circulation. So the same reviewers that have been involved in the outdoor seating licenses will be the same reviewers for these one-off applications or revisions.
So it's an amendment to an existing license. It's going to get the same routing. I'm going to make a recommendation here that you include ISD, all right? And that's not in the communications to us, but I'm going to ask that you put ISD as part of that routing.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because I think they need to know. ISD definitely needs to know. Engineering definitely needs to know. Because engineering also has a representative about ADA compliance on this, don't they?
Correct.
Right. So when engineering takes a look at this and there's 2 feet of snow on a sidewalk that's been piled up there by an outdoor parklet restaurateur and it's interfering with sidewalk passage, you see where I'm going with it? So if engineering is signing off on this, ISD is signing off, fire is signing off, DPW is signing off. Let me ask another question. Who at DPW were your discussions with?
Commissioner McEachern as well as Eric Wiseman, Director of Operations.
Okay. And is it your representation that both of them are okay with this request?
Yeah.
Okay. And Lieutenant McLaughlin has expressed his concern about the heaters. The commissioners are asking you questions about the heaters. The placement during non-use of the heaters is a concern. And as I've said it many times, the commission looks at need. So we have a need of approximately 15 restaurants right now. That may increase, it may decrease. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. And DPW is comfortable with this, saying if we give these guys 4 hours notice, they're comfortable that based on what's out on the street now, all right, that they can remove all this stuff off the street for safe plowing by DPW. Is that basically what DPW is saying to you?
That is correct.
Okay.
What allows us the flexibility is the case-by-case review, that we would all look through their plan to make sure that it is adequate enough and that they have the resources enough to do what it is asked for. We would have those discussions with the applicant to make sure that that is actually valid. And then, of course, if on the off case that they don't follow through, I think it would result in sort of other repercussions from that.
So the representation from OSPCD is that they can screen these applicants and give enough surety that they'd be able to comply with all of the new winter extension outdoor seating stuff. Get your stuff off the street within 4 hours, no problem. Store your propane tanks in the appropriate storage, no problem. If you have a tent, the snow load is fine, no problem. That's what's being requested of us, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, and then based on the load that we're estimating, 12 to 15 applicants, there won't be a surge like there was, I hate that word. There won't be a flood of applicants coming in all at one time for the licensing, for the city clerk's office to be handling. It looks like this may be minimal workload to the city clerk's office.
That's what we're anticipating, but I certainly do not know what our businesses plan on doing if they end up having resources. But I also think that staff review time is also huge on this. It may just go into January in terms of approvals. So.
Got it. No, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm trying to work through it.
Sure, but in short, like we did back in June, we tried really hard to do a 48 to 72 hour turnaround, if not a week. That's not going to be possible here. This is going to take a lot more review time.
Right. Okay. Okay. Because these are not like cars that are parked on the street called during a snow emergency. If they don't move their car, the city tows them. We can't tow away an outdoor parklet.
Correct.
That's not a flip remark on my part. It's the way that I think. Pre-COVID, emergency gets called, get your cars off the street or park on the outside. I don't, depending on what it is. If you don't comply, you get ticketed and you get towed. And that's done for a reason. It's for safe passage of our roads during a snow event. Okay, let's see. So the deadline is December 11th. They may be trickling in. The increased work capacity is probably more on OSPCD and economic review and the patio patrol. Talk to me a little bit about the difference between sidewalk outdoor seating and parklet outdoor seating. Are you going to allow public sidewalk outdoor seating during this extension?
We don't anticipate for permitting sidewalk seating. This is really for what we envision is for parklets rather than sidewalk seating, because of the way that the infrastructure is there and also the extension of premises. People have asked us to look into it potentially for next year, where is switching the parklets over to the sidewalk and allowing for pedestrian walkway through the streets with protective barriers. However, we're not ready for that at this time. So these would be for parklet submissions.
Okay, so you wouldn't mind if we condition that this does not apply to public sidewalk?
No, if the commission wishes to say that.
Okay. Do you know how many off the top of your head of our current outdoor seating applicants that took advantage of the program we offered in the summertime have both public sidewalk seating and public parklet seating? I can think of one right off the bat, which is Mike's Restaurant in Davis Square.
That's a good question. I do not have that information in front of me at this time.
Okay. There is another one, I think it's Five Horses Tavern, where they have small tables on the public sidewalk and they also have a parklet in front. So I think Commissioner Lindgren asked the question where I wanted to kind of focus is where is the cluster? This cluster looks like it's going to be down in Davis Square. Do we have any of the applicants who have expressed interest coming out of the Union Square parking lot area?
I would have to go back to the responses, but I want to say most of our outdoor seating is in the parking lot there in Union Square, and then along Bow Street and Somerville Ave. And so I believe we received one or two from there. My apologies, I would have to look back at the list to see who had submitted a survey response. But some of them might be attending today as well.
All right, so the follow-up question is DPW comfortable if we give this blanket, right, and you get in a restaurant in Union Square wants to stay out in the public parking lot, DPW is okay with plowing around them if they don't remove stuff? I guess am I getting too dark here?
DPW, as well as the rest of the staff, is okay with reviewing proposals to make sure that that is even feasible. If it is not feasible, we will have to reject some of these requests.
Got it. Okay. All right. And I think I'm running out of steam of questions here, but on the private side, do we have anything that we have to approve on the private patio areas for extension beyond? Not really, because the private patio areas were given approval to stay out as long as they wanted.
Correct.
So do we have any concerns from the fire department about that? Lieutenant McLaughlin?
Not really. I believe the only area would be behind the Rosebud, the Painted Borough, with the tent they have, the parking lot. It is accessible to apparatus if we need to get in there. But my concern would be, and again, back to ISD, would be the snow load for that tent. Really, I don't see anything on the private side that would be a problem. And I think that if I understand what Sue Thomas is asking, is that each of these applicants will be reviewed by each department again. And if it's not feasible, then we'll be able to deny the request and they won't be able to open. Is that correct?
If they do not, Lieutenant McLaughlin, let me try to answer the question. If they don't get all the proper sign-ups, they're not going to get this extension.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
I understand.
Okay.
But as far as the private goes, the private section, I really don't see any problems. I'm out there every day looking.
That's not true, John.
What? Lori?
Go ahead.
My apologies. The clerk asked me to speak up about the extension of the private licenses, and I didn't realize I was on mic. My apologies on that.
Okay. Was that in response to a question or were you answering a different question?
I was answering a question for the city clerk about private licenses and how long the extension was. He believed it was only until January 11th, but I'm looking back at the minutes, and the motion made for private property was from November 1st through December 31st, and then January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Is that your understanding as well, Chairman?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm so sorry that my mic was on. My apologies.
That's okay. You got confirmation from all three commissioners that that is what we voted on. So
I appreciate that.
it was a good shout out, Laurie. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the second part of the
John.
The second part of the question is you didn't like April 1st. So you want us to give everybody else March 1st. So what is the logic behind that one, Sue?
I think folks are just, assuming that if weather, typically our roughest months are January and February, and if the weather is better beginning of March or towards the end of February, that they can just immediately go out there and not have to wait for the licensing commission to be able to open that up again, come February or a special meeting in March.
Well, they wouldn't have to come to us in a special meeting in March. We said April 1st, right? So what is it really buying them by bumping it back a month? I guess I don't understand. Oh,
It's buying them 30 days of potential revenue that they could be having outdoors if the weather is good.
and this is for kind of like the guys who are not going to invest in heaters. They're not going to invest in big tents. They're not going to, you're just going to allow them to go back out anytime after March 1st under their existing temporary licenses.
That's correct. But the snow removal clause would apply to all operators, which we included in the licensing amendment, which is the removal of all sidewalk related furniture in case of a snow emergency. So even if we had a snow emergency in the month of December, they would have to remove that.
Okay, and that's where, let me address my question again to Mr. Long. That's where I would feel comfortable by inserting that information, inserting it into the approval that we had last month. Mr. Long, am I making any sense this late in the hour of what I'm looking for?
I believe, Mr. Commissioner, you're wanting the motion to include language saying that the outdoor seating must be removed so the public way can be accessed in the event of snow removal?
That is correct, Mr. Long. We had that language in the motion last month.
And that, yes, I have some draft text ready that also incorporates that language.
Right. I would feel very comfortable when the representations being made by Ms. Thomas that there is a plan in place to address the issue that if DPW, fire, ISD, engineering is going to be given the case-by-case approval on these things, that there's also a blanket out there that says any one of those departments can order the removal. And that is the language that we had before. The only thing that would be missing is the licensing commission would not order the removal. So I'm not sure if I'm making any sense, but I know what I'm looking for. It's kind of like, I know bad art when I see it. So commissioners, where do you want to go from here? Are your concerns satisfied?
I think looping in DPW, it addresses one of the biggest concerns, namely that, they're going to get, blindsided or caught by surprise, something that they're not prepared for. And I think also keeping them in the loop on this means that if there is a need to plow and an establishment has not done what they need to do, there's an avenue for them to now communicate that to economic development, and for that to, if necessary, get forwarded to us for action. It sounds like this is going to be a relatively small pilot of this, and in many ways I think this could be a positive way to get a lot of useful data for I know you've talked about our proposed permanent policies and procedures for this next year. I am happy with it, and I think it's okay to go forward with it, with the understanding that there's going to be a lot of hand holding to get this through and figure out how this works in the beginning.
Okay, and if I could just follow up with, that's a nice way to put it, Commissioner Allen, that there should be a lot of hand holding.
Yes.
This is a new product that economic development is introducing on a permanent basis for the benefit of the restaurants to have outdoor seating year round. We tried it in the summertime. It was a reaction to something that was very much needed by the restaurant industry. I'll make the commitment again that we'll continue to work with them to try to give them every tool that we can. I do want to ensure, however, that the key ingredients of public safety are going to be abided by.
And that is definitely something where like a lot of this conversation of that we are resolving ourselves, you know, that we've asked them to sign a liability waiver, this, that, and the other. That's all good and well, but like, yeah, the concerns I have here are, you know, propane explosion, ambulance unable to reach destination. Like as long, like, you know, those are not things which you can, you know, well, we absolved ourselves of liability.
Yeah, I don't care if we, well, I do care that we absolve ourselves from liability. I just don't want it to happen. And I think we need to take every precaution, and by asking these questions, you know, making sure that the fire department and DPW, the two critical pieces of this, that they are satisfied with what's in front of us. That's what I'm hoping for, that Commissioner McEachern and Chief Breen and Lieutenant McLaughlin and everybody else understands that this program is new. And in the days gone by, I can tell you from my experience, if a car wasn't, in the old days, before we started towing, if DPW came down the street and you didn't move your car, they'd pile the snow on top of your car. So it was a message. I don't agree with the message, but I don't want that happening to our restaurant industry. I want them to understand you got 4 hours to get the stuff off the street, and you got to store your propane tanks appropriately. That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right. All right, Mr. Long, do you have any recommended? Oh, look at him. I like the language, Mr. Long. Can we also insert the ISD director?
So two questions. First off, for private license holders, we extended all the way through to December 31st, 2021.
Correct.
For public license holders, this would only apply for winter purposes for January 11th to March 31st. Then we would revert back to our normal, the previous outside seating arrangement. So we would, for next winter season, we would not yet have a winter plan for public property.
That's correct.
That is our intention.
Yes, because as I made clear at last month's hearing, I'd like to see something formalized between working with all these departments and the licensing commission, that the licensing commission could take a look at applications for outdoor seating during the wintertime, and we would have our own guidelines for that.
I would agree with that. And I would also love it if at the end of this period, we could get feedback from all the departments in terms of what worked, what didn't, where did, and the second question was the language here, January 11th through March 31st. And that is, so we are not doing, and this is, as we said, this is two separate questions. The operational during that period in the winter, and also are we discussing March 31st as the last date, or April 1st.
I missed that question by a mile, Commissioner Allen.
I certainly could have phrased it better.
No, I'm saying I didn't understand it.
One of the questions I had, and let me pull up a calendar to make sure that I'm looking at this correctly. Our previous public patio seating opens up again April 1st.
Mhm.
Correct.
This is January 11th through March 31st for the applicants who specifically go through the winter plan.
That is my understanding.
Applicants who do not go through the winter plan would essentially be unchanged.
Well, Ms. Thomas has a second request in here, which is to roll back to March 1st for all others.
Thank you. Are we planning on dealing with those as two motions?
Oh.
Speak and you shall receive, Commissioner Allen.
Somebody is a mile ahead of me here.
Mhm.
Why I depend on both he and Lori.
Very well. In that case, I'm happy to go back to the first motion and get that hammered out.
Okay. All right. All right. But just, I want to make sure that all the folks are in there.
Right, on the second one.
So on the second one, I think we're missing the licensing commission, Mr. Clerk. ISD, DPW, fire, city engineer. And we could add the licensing commission in there. I know I'm picky, but I look for consistency, predictability, order. Mr. Clerk. We good?
Commissioner, this is John Long. It would be perhaps cleaner to adopt this motion, and then we will have a good date for the end of the winter HASP plan for the few restaurants that do choose to open throughout the winter. In other words, by moving the deadline or moving the opening date for spring outdoor seating to March 1, it therefore means the winter HASP plan for the restaurants that have opened throughout the winter, that winter plan ends on February 28th because anyone can open on March 1.
All right, instead of using February 28th or February 29th, could I ask you to think about the last day of February? Because we have leap year, and if we're gonna, I don't know.
Not in 2021.
Thank you, thank you. So the 29th is the date in 21.
28th.
28th, sorry. I understand completely what you were just saying. Right, right. Okay.
I want to point out that there is still snow in March, so we are ending the winter HASP plan, and anybody can open in the spring, but there will be no winter guidelines in place because any of the 85 restaurants that were open this summer will be able to open on March 1.
Right, right, and they don't need written reauthorization to do that under what we're doing. But
correct.
It goes back to Ms. Thomas, what I was saying about my hesitancy, because I don't predict the weather. And being a native New Englander, I can tell you that January, February, and March are difficult months when it comes to the weather. So I'm not keen on the idea, but I think the other two commissioners may be able to convince me that throwing this to March 1st is not such a big deal. I happen to think it is, because April 1st gives me a lot more comfort that the snow will be gone and not piled up in hard ice blocks on the side of the road. And then we have people fighting over whose real estate is whose real estate and where the snow mounds are going to go. I
mean, I do understand your concern that, a big part of the winter site plan is everything needs to be able to be easily taken down. And if that is not the case for stuff in March, a lot of that situation is still true in March. And like, I am sympathetic to like restaurants that want to be tactical and say, it is a beautiful day outside. Let's put a couple of tables out there real quick. I'm a little bit more reticent about let's set up the big, let's set up the big structures that have a lot of setup and takedown. And
Right.
I'm curious how we can codify that.
Well, I mean, I guess the assurance that we're getting from Ms. Thomas is that they would be able to say yes or no on that. However, if you're given a blanket approval, right? Given a blanket approval for March 1st, that's what
Everybody-
these guys have on their license. And it says, I can put stuff out in the street anytime I want after March 1st.
Mhm.
And then you have the whole enforcement part of it and the risk of people moving stuff in and out, in and out, in and out, right?
Yeah.
Based on the weather. So I guess, economic development talks to these restaurateurs on a daily basis or weekly. And they're convincing people that, when it's a warm, beautiful day, we want to be able to put stuff out in the parklet. And then if it snows 2 days later, we'll take it back in. But my concern is they still have all of these safety things that they have to abide by, right? If you're going out into the street, you have to have the demarcation lines, you have to have, sufficient safety in mind. Right now, I'll be honest with you, I don't like the idea of restaurants being in the street going through traffic just with a rope dividing them from the traffic. I don't feel comfortable myself, right? If it's in a protected area with something that's going to prevent a car from hitting me, I'm saying that if we do it on March 1st, right, you're not going to have the same kind of protective barriers that you have today. You might have 4 snow cones that they swiped from somebody who's trying to save a parking space. Now they put them out on the street to demarcate where their parklet was the year before. I'm not comfortable with moving that date. I'm just
Yeah,
not.
I would agree. I mean, if they wanted to open in March, they could always do the winter application, correct?
That is correct.
And now that we are seriously considering a winter application procedure, I am much more comfortable with a later deadline for leaving that winter period.
Yeah.
There's a release valve here. If you want to do it, there's a policy in place.
Yeah, the only caveat is they have to apply by, we said December 11th, right? So if someone wanted to open in March, they'd have to apply now.
Let's ask Ms. Thomas that question. Ms. Thomas, if somebody decides that they want to do outdoor winter dining under the current guidelines that you've developed and you're going to be publishing, is that deadline December 11th?
No, it will be December 11th if they wish to operate starting January 11th. However, if they're flexible in terms of when they want to open past that date, it'll be on a rolling basis.
Got it. Thank you. Commissioner Lindgren, does that answer the question? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Thomas, I'm sorry.
Oh, so I was just gonna say, so we need to edit this then.
Well, that one we would not.
Oh, that we would need, the
wouldn't.
first one, yeah, we need to edit this one.
Right. So Ms. Thomas, anything else you want to add here? I know you were making the case for a case-by-case basis for the extension of some winter outdoor dining. And you wanted to move the date of when we reinstituted normal outdoor summertime, springtime dining. So anything on what you've heard here and what we're doing?
No, thank you for the deliberation. The only confusing or the question I would have is the reasoning for through March 31st, 2021 versus saying December 31st, 2021, or upon emergency order being lifted like the other license. Because if the expectation is that they would revert back to their old seating layouts, that would not be possible for many of these restaurants who may be asking for winter operations. So I would request some clarity on that.
Yeah, I didn't understand your concern. Help me with that again, please.
Sure. What is the reasoning for January 11, 2021 through March 31st, 2021 only versus putting it through December 31st, 2021 or upon emergency order being lifted? Because we would have approved their winter layout that would stay all year round.
Mr. Commissioner, this is John Long. Can I ask a question of Sue?
Proceed, Mr. Long.
Thank you. Sue, are you saying that the winter seating plan, the plan that goes into effect for the bad winter months, will then be the plan that they use even in the good summer months and will replace the summer plan that they used this past year?
No, a health and safety plan that we requested will stay in file. This is an additional document that they will provide for the winter months, that the same rules will apply, come November, December of the end of the year, or we could certainly add on to it from what we learned from this winter to that. But leaving it to March 31st just wasn't clear, and I just want to make sure that I'm able to explain that to the business owners as well as to what the reasoning is, and if there's any confusion that they would have to revert back to their old layout plan. That would be a concern. But to directly answer your question, there would be two health and safety plans. One would be the regular under normal spring, summer operations, and then the other one would be for winter.
Which there should be, Mr. Clerk. There should be two different health and safety plans for summer, one for winter. Because during winter, a lot of them are using canopies and heaters. And during summer, they may not be using those, which in my estimation, the ones who are using heaters, it changes their seating plan that was approved, depending on the placement of the heaters.
Mr. Commissioner, that's correct. And that's why I was concerned about having what is written. My motion needs to be rewritten, because what it says here is that the winter health and safety plan will be the thing they have to operate pursuant to. And it says the winter ready outdoor dining guidelines will be applicable to these folks who have gotten special licenses. So if those two things are going to be in place all year long, then the motion, either we take the winter health and safety plan requirement off at some point and say, okay, you don't have to follow the winter health and safety plan anymore, and you don't have to follow the winter ready outdoor dining guidelines anymore, or else we're going to be holding them to a higher standard than everybody else who normally opens on April 1.
Now I understand what you're saying. Yep.
If I may, I understand the health and safety plan can cause confusion across the board. We can call this a winter ready certification instead of a winter health and safety plan to avoid confusion there. But I want to be clear that it is a requirement to have both the health and safety plan as well as the winter ready certification on hand. It does not replace the existing health and safety plan. We would need both.
Mr. Long, I'm looking at this motion again, all right? And you've got me all the way up to from January 11th through 21, January 11th of 21 through March 31st of 21, which by supposition that kicks off the April 1st outdoor seating spring and summer, right? So you're ending the outdoor license, the outdoor winter dining on March 31st. Because they've received written notice from the city clerk's office that they may operate pursuant to their winter ready certification. All other conditions, including the city's COVID-19, this is the distinction that you're making, Ms. Thomas, is that there's two different things going on here. One is the winter ready certification. The other is the winter ready outdoor dining guidelines. That's the distinction that you're making, right? Or are they the same document?
The winter ready, the guidelines are to help an applicant apply for the certification or the form, I should say. If I'm reading this again, and to clarify, I think the intent is you're saying outdoor seating licenses issued by the Licensing Commission from January 11th through March for those licenses who have received notice from the city clerk's office that may operate pursuant to their winter ready certification. I think that's clear. Actually, you're saying that they need a winter ready certification from the months of January 11th to March 31st.
Yeah, and you're going to manage that and get all the sign-offs. Okay.
Correct.
Next, on all other conditions, including the city's COVID, I don't understand why we're saying winter ready outdoor dining guidelines.
Mr. Commissioner, there is a document, it's 5 pages long, of winter ready outdoor dining guidelines.
And do those replace the HASP that they already have? Or is it just add to it?
I believe it's valid for winter only, but it's really a question for Sue.
They're the same. They are the same document. John might be seeing that. I think the official document said winter ready certification, but throughout the document we call it winter health and safety plan. So my apologies for the confusion there. But they are the same document. The guidelines are to help you apply to submit a proposal, and we've put them under one document so that applicants can see clearly what is being required. Similar to our outdoor seating guidelines and the health and safety plan, we've done the same thing for the winter, which is the winter guidelines and the winter health and safety plan.
Okay. Well, I'm still confused. I'm still confused as to why we're not calling it just an amendment to their HASP for winter ready certification. They have a document that they've submitted, and it's for the good winter month. Jesus, for the good weather months. What you're trying to do is give them additional guidelines, and you have to certify their application for winter months. Am I okay stating it that way?
That's correct. We can certainly do that if the commission wishes us to do that, which is adding it onto the health and safety plan.
Yeah,
They can do
because it kind of sounds like we're reinventing the wheel all over, unless I'm misreading this. So they have to receive written notice from the city clerk's office that they may operate pursuant to their amendments to their HASPs for winter ready certification. I don't know if that works. All other conditions, including the city's COVID-19 outdoor dining guidelines, shall apply. See, because the way that second sentence reads, it looks like the governor or state is doing winter ready outdoor dining guidelines, which is not the case. I don't know.
No, however, a city is able to add on to those regulations if we need to. So a health and safety plan for municipalities was directed by the state However, there were also requirements in there that the city added on to. So that's something that we can certainly do for the winter, is we add on to the existing health and safety plan to include winter operational regulations.
So yeah, we're getting closer. You and I are getting closer that there's an original HASP that's out there. We have these applicants submit that HASP, and now you're asking us to amend the HASP with new guidelines for winter outdoor dining. So I think that's the way I would approach this. Written notice from the city clerk's office that they may operate pursuant to their HASP with winter-ready certification amendments. I don't know if I'm just reading this wrong, or maybe it's the placement where you just put HASP at the end of it. I mean, or did you just insert that, Mr. Clerk?
Yeah. He just gave us.
I inserted it. I'm now changing it so the words HASP come first. See if that helps.
Okay, I missed you insert. See, they're trying to test my age and my eyesight. Mr. Long loves doing that to me by changing the motions when I didn't see HASP in there before, but it's in there now.
Yep.
Here's a new one for you. I'm changing it on the fly. Maybe I should make my changes visible as I'm making them, make the edits visible, but this is the latest and greatest.
Okay.
Did we want to take the winter ready out of that sentence, second sentence, all other conditions, including the city's COVID-19 outdoor dining guidelines, or
Yes.
do we need?
Yes, Commissioner Lindgren, that's what was bothering me, because it starts to look like it's a completely separate outdoor dining guideline. There you go.
Yeah.
All other conditions, including the city's COVID-19 outdoor dining guidelines, shall apply unless otherwise modified by the governor or state or city. Licensed use of the public way shall be discontinued upon notice by the Licensing Commission, Director of ISD, Commissioner of DPW, Fire Chief, City Engineer, that the outdoor dining and all related equipment must be removed so the public way can be accessed for a public purpose, including but not limited to snow removal, street repair, underground utility work. Are we happy with this one? I want to take 30 seconds, read it to yourselves again and see if you see any problems of how I've mangled this motion.
I am happy with this one.
I would agree.
Commissioner Lindgren, you're good?
Yeah, I would agree. Yep, it looks good.
Mr. Long, we good with this motion?
This is one of the great motions of all time, Mr. Commissioner.
Miss Thomas, how are you going to top that one?
I really can never top John Long.
Ladies and gentlemen, if there are no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion. I move to extend the use of the public streets, but not public sidewalks, for holders of outdoor seating licenses issued by this licensing commission from January 11th, 2021 through March 31st, 2021, for those licensees who have received written notice from the city clerk's office that they may operate pursuant to their HASP with the winter ready certification. All other conditions, including the city's COVID-19 outdoor dining guidelines, shall apply unless otherwise modified by the governor or state or city legislation. Licensed use of the public way shall be discontinued upon notice by the Licensing Commission, Director of Inspectional Services, Commissioner of Public Works, Chief Fire Engineer, or City Engineer, that the outdoor seating and all related equipment must be removed so the public way can be accessed for a public purpose, including, but not limited to, snow removal, street repair, and underground utility work. On the motion,
I'll second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Thomas, thank you very much for the hard work on this, you and your crew.
No, thank you very much, Commission.
Okay. Back to the regular agenda. We have 2 items that were continued to the end of the agenda. Commissioner Allen.
Yes. Those were
3 and 5.
Item
yeah.
number 3 was Sinev LLC DBA Zaruma Gold Coffee. Is the applicant present?
no.
Sinev.
Ms. Thomas has asked that there were businesses that were actually present for the winter site extension, and that I have at least one hand raised for that. She's wanting to know if they can speak.
Okay, let's take item 3. Is Mr. Sinev present?
No.
Okay. Yeah, Commissioner Allen indicates the applicant is not present. This will be continued to the January 2021 licensing. Going back to the previous item, which was the late item, the request and the communications from OSPCD, there are attendees who wish to speak. Commissioner Allen.
All right. Mr. Olson.
Hi, guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you for taking my hand. So I'm going back to something you've already closed, but we are at Medici's at Assembly Row in Somerville. We are looking to put igloos on our sidewalk. The fire marshal was there and approved it about a week and a half ago. The landlords approved it, but by what you guys, I think, just did, saying that that is not allowed now between January 11th through the winter month.
Commissioner Allen, could I have the applicant from Medici? Can I have his name again, please?
That is Sean Olson.
Mr. Olson, are you on a dedicated mic? I'm getting a lot of interference and I can't really hear you that well.
I think I am. I believe I am. I'm sorry, Mr. Rich, but yes.
Okay, so the outdoor dining that you currently have outside of Medici, is that on public property or private property?
Well, I believe it's all on public. It's quite a wide sidewalk. We have to have 6 feet off of the building for public egress. And then after that is where we have our outdoor seating now and intend to put the igloos. But I still think the whole area is deemed public, even though Assembly Row takes care of the snow removal, etc.
Yeah. So to the applicant, once again, I can't make the determination for you because I'm not familiar with which sidewalks Federal Realty owns and which sidewalks are actually public. So there is a distinction down there at Assembly Row where some of the sidewalks are owned by FRIT, by Federal Realty, and some are owned by the city of Somerville. So we would have to look into it a little bit more. What is the address of Medici?
It's 463 Assembly Row.
Okay.
We have been dealing with Courtney and Sue, et cetera, on this for weeks.
Okay. Sue, if Sue Thomas is still on the line, can you hold just for a second for me? If Sue Thomas is still on the line, is there an easy way where we can tell if that address, the sidewalk is public or private?
Hi, this is Sue. I am on the line. I don't have that information in front of me, but I do have a map of what is public right of way and privately owned streets in Assembly. I can certainly work offline with Mr. Olson to answer that question. But I do know that we are reviewing his application. Whether it's private or public, we still need to review their proposals for the infrastructure that they're requesting to deploy for the winter.
When you say infrastructure, you're talking about igloos?
Yes, I'm talking about igloos.
How many igloos?
I'm not sure. I would have to pull up their application.
3?
Yes, the last correspondence that we had was we wanted confirmation as to how much seating is going to be offered inside these igloos, as well as some other documentation that was sent by Courtney this morning. But we can work with Mr. Olson to answer his question.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Olson,
Okay.
you good with that?
Yes, I think there's some things lost in a disconnect. We keep submitting Sue's requests and Courtney's requests on how many seats, et cetera, into CitizenServe, and for some reason, they're not getting them. We submitted for 6 seats per igloo, but I have a question on that because there's several other igloos on property that I've seen more than 6 people sitting in. So I'm curious, what is the limit? Is it 6, 8, or what is it?
Unfortunately, Mr. Olson, you're asking us a question that we should not be weighing in on because that's according to the ask that was submitted. And we don't have anything in front of us tonight about Medici. So what I'm going to ask is that Ms. Thomas work with you closely to satisfy some of the questions that you have.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Are you good?
I am good, and really, we appreciate Sue and Courtney and everything they're doing. They have an unenviable task ahead of them, and we appreciate everything they're doing for us.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ms. Thomas, thank you very much. You all set working with Mr. Olson?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other members of the public? Commissioner Allen?
No other hands raised. If you would like to be heard, please raise your hand.
Okay, seeing none, back to the item. The continued item was for Demeter Hospitality LLC, DBA Daddy Jones. Is Ms. Murphy present? Is anyone named Sorianis present?
There's only one person present, and I know they are not representing this.
Okay. All right. So on the application for item number 5, that will be continued to the January meeting. Okay. Any other business in front of the commission? Are we good? All right. On behalf of my colleagues, I want to offer sincere thanks to Lori Jean Batsik, John Long, the crew at Economic Development, the crew, all the city departments that have been assisting us this summer with a lot of increased meetings, duties, responsibilities that we've had for assisting the hospitality and outdoor dining folks. I offer this to you. Let's make it a very safe winter and looking forward to a productive and safe spring. With that said, we are going to adjourn this meeting. Please, everyone, be safe. Enjoy the holidays as much as you can. And we will see you, commissioners, in 2021. All right.
Thank you very much.
Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Mr. Long, Ms. Batsik, thank you so much. Talk to you soon. This meeting is adjourned.